Hi, I'm Mangrove Mike, and I'll be your guide to the Grade Center navigation. The Grade Center is the epicenter of Blackboard. It allows you to track and create assessments of all kinds, including tests, discussions, and even manual entries. There's even a way to track attendance. The Grade Center establishes a trail of transparency for both the instructor and the student. Before we embark, let's check your survival kit.
Some of the requirements for your survival kit include: all college courses must have a properly functioning grade center. Courses must have a green check mark to designate the external grade column that appropriately represents the student's progress throughout the semester. And every adjunct faculty member teaching an online course is required to complete VKIT, or the Virtual Campus Instructor Training course.
Here's the itinerary of the expedition.
Grade Center Overview. Creating grading schemas. Creating categories. Creating columns. How assignments are submitted and graded. Troubleshooting. Captain's blog, including an interactive discussion board and survival guide.
All these numbers, points, percentages, totals, weighted totals. What's going on? How does this thing work? The Grade Center is a tool. It reflects the grading schema in your syllabus, which represents a contract to the students. If set up correctly, it calculates automatically, and students will always be able to see their current standing in the class. No more, "Professor, what's my grade?" And trust me, it's nothing like this. It's about points and percentages, and you set up your columns accordingly. But first, let's configure. Go figure. So what is a grading schema? It's simply giving a numerical value that equals a letter grade. For example, the standing grading scale for IRSC is 90 to 100 equals an A. 80 to 89 equals a B. You know the drill. However, in nursing and education curriculum, it's 93 to 100 equals an A. And that's where the customizing comes in. Check with your dean or department chair for the specifics of your program. But in the meantime, it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty of setting up the grading schema in your Blackboard.
Hit the Manage tab and click on the Grading Schemas. You'll see the standard grading schema by default. To edit this schema to suit your needs, select the chevron and click Edit. This will allow you to determine what percentage earns an A, B, C, etc. Simply adjust the numbers as needed. Changing the numerical value in the left-hand column will also change the right. If you want to enter letter grades in the columns, you can set how this will calculate by entering your preference in the right-hand percentage box. Select Submit to save the changes. Then OK to return to the Grade Center.
What's the point of a category? A category helps you organize assessments into groups. For instance, if you have 10 quizzes, you can group them into one category.
The 7 pre-existing categories are found in the Grade Center under the Manage tab and down to Categories. By default, there are 7 Blackboard categories that are built into the course. First, there's Assignment, Blog, Discussion, Journal, Self and Peer, Survey, and Test. Now, there are assignments associated with each one of these categories. You can also create your own category and then associate assignments as needed. So we're going to go ahead and create a category, and we'll create that category called Quizzes, because we have quizzes in this course that we want to separate from actual tests. Notice the chevron next to the quiz item you just created, the category. You can edit that again and rename it, or you can actually delete the category. However, you cannot delete any category that has items in the category. Right now, this category is empty. So we're going to go ahead and associate assignments from the Manage Column Organization tab and put some assignments into this quiz category. Once the categories are created, you need to select OK in the lower right corner. Now we need to go to the Column Organization page to see which items or assignments are associated with which category. The column at the top left of this chart is the first column in your Grade Center. You can move these columns by dragging the handle of the column you want to move. Notice each column is associated with a category, or sometimes no category at all. We'll want to reassign the quiz columns into the category of quizzes we created. To do this, select the items we want to move into the category of quizzes. Go to the Change To button on top and select the Quizzes category. Now select Submit, and you've changed the quizzes into the quiz category. Now we'll take a look at the quizzes category to make sure that the associated assignments are with the correct categories. And they are.
In the column sections, we'll be talking about default columns, creating your own column, and setting the external grade column.
By default, there are several columns that will appear in the Grade Center. Last name, first name, username, student ID, last access by the student, availability, the weighted total, and total. Notice there are 3 buttons along the top. Move to top, email each student, and the Reach Out button. You may see additional columns that were generated as assessments and assignments were added to the course. Let's walk through that process. If you were using the development shell to build out your course, it should have a content link on the menu. If it doesn't, you can create a page. To do this, simply mouse over the small plus sign at the top of the menu and select Content Area. Give your page a name such as Content or Course Content. Be sure to make it available to users. Click on this page to add items to the course. Build Content will allow you to add folders, files, and other content as needed. The Assessment tab allows you to add tests and assignments that will automatically generate a column in your Grade Center. Create an assignment. Give it a name. Set your due date. Assign it a number of points. And be sure to open the options including submission details. Select the number of attempts. You can also check submissions for plagiarism using the Safe Assign tool. Select the grading options. For grading options, use the default settings. Select Display of Grades. How grades are displayed will depend on whether you are using points or percentages in your syllabus. If you are using points, it's best to set the primary display to Score. If you are using percentages, select Percentages from the drop-down menu. The secondary display is optional. You can choose to use the secondary display, however only the instructor will see it. If no grades are associated with an item, then select Complete Incomplete, and a check will show up in the column once the assignment has been submitted. Finally, be sure to track the number of views so that you can see which students have viewed the assignments. Click Submit. Open the assignment to see how it appears to students. Notice that the assignment is worth 100 points, the due date is set, and the time. Your new column will now appear in the far right side of the Grade Center. For face-to-face classes, you can also create a column. In which you can manually enter grades for hard copy assignments handed in during class. You will have to set up your total column based upon your syllabus. To do this, go to the Grade Center and click on the chevron next to the Total column and select Edit Column Information. Now you can customize the name of that column to suit your needs. Since this is the total, choose Score for the primary display. Optionally, you can set the secondary display to Angel Letter. This will show a letter grade based on the grading schema you have chosen. Be careful about choosing all grade columns to represent your total score. Best practice is to choose Selected Columns and Categories. This lets you choose only those columns that you want to contribute to the total score. You can either choose to select columns to move over or categories. If an assignment is not associated with a category, such as a term project, as a column, it can be selected as a standalone item. Categories represent groups of assignments and can be scored as a group. Notice that the content of the selected categories appear in the small box below. You will not see the amount of points associated with each assignment or assessment. Points associated with each assessment can be checked using the Column Organization tool back under the Manage tab. Remember, you can also associate assignments with categories at any time. Once a category is selected and clicked across with the arrow sign, the category is added to the total weight of the course. By default, Calculate as a running total is set to Yes. This means that these assignments, as graded, will calculate into the total column. Make sure to put those zeros in if assignments have not been submitted to keep an accurate current grade for both the student and the instructor. Under Options, the defaults are probably best: to include this column in the calculations, to show the column to the students, and you may choose not to show the class average to the students unless in competitive programs this may be an option. And then be sure to click Submit. You will have to set up your weighted column based upon your syllabus. To do this, go to the Grade Center and click on the chevron next to the weighted column and select Edit Column Information. Now you can customize the name of that column to suit your needs. Since this is the weighted total, choose Percentage for the primary display. Optionally, you can set the secondary display to Angel Letter. This will show a letter grade based on the grading schema you have chosen. You can either choose to select columns to move over or categories. If an assignment is not associated with a category, such as a term project, as a column, it can be selected as a standalone item and weighted accordingly. Categories represent groups of assignments and can be given a weight as a group. Notice that when selected, the content of those categories appear in the small box below. Before you select a category, make sure all of the columns have been pre-assigned to the appropriate categories. Remember, you can also associate assignments with categories at any time. Once a category is selected, select the small arrow sign to move it into the appropriate box. Give the category the weight you want and decide if you want to drop the lowest or highest grades. At the bottom, make sure the total weight adds to 100%. By default, Calculate as a running total is set to Yes. This means that these assignments, as graded, will calculate into the weighted total column. Be sure to put those zeros in if assignments have not been submitted to keep an accurate, current grade for both the student and the instructor. Show this column to students shows the students their current grade. Select Yes so students can track their own grades. And click Submit. The weighted column will now represent all of the aggregated columns together. You can sort columns based on alphabetical settings, and in the columns themselves, you can sort by the highest to lowest grades. Once you've done that, you can also enter the zeros to keep your grade center in appropriate manner. The total column represents the total points earned in the course. The weighted column represents the percentages of the grades earned. Last and most important, notice the green check. This represents the external grade column. This is the column that counts. This is the column that the system will see to check for data purposes. To set this, click on the chevron next to the column to select Set as External Grade Column. The check mark has moved.
Did you ever have a student say, "I gave that to you last week," or you think, "Where did those papers go?" Now, these papers are easily found under Needs Grading. They're either there or they're not. If the student's assignment is not in the Needs Grading Dropbox, the student hasn't correctly submitted the work, period. No more emails to track, no more stacks of papers to manage.
Let's see the step-by-step process a student will need to use in order to submit your assignment. Click on the Student View button up on top. Once in the student review mode, click on the course content where the assignment sits. This is how the student will see this. Click on Essay 2 to submit your essay that you have just written as a student. Notice the points and submission date. Click Browse My Computer to find the assignment or the sample assignment we've created. Click Choose. The assignment is put into place for submission. In the comments area, the student can type a short message to the instructor and click Submit. The student now sees their submission. Once a student has submitted an assignment, it will show up in the Needs Grading section. So let's exit the student preview, and in this selection, if you wanted to keep this assignment to show students how it looks for them once they've submitted an assignment, you can keep the user preview. Click Continue. At the bottom of the menu under Course Management, you'll see the Grade Center and Needs Grading area. Click on Needs Grading. You'll find all of the submissions for all assignments in this space. Find an assignment and click on it to open and grade it. If a test or quiz has been selected, to view information about that test, select the Test Information button. You can find the time spent on the test, the date submitted, and to reset the test if hung up, click on the Clear button. If this test had an essay question in addition to all the multiple choice attempts, you can grade your essay here and give the appropriate amount of points deserved in the small box to the right side. After you've graded all the essays, click Save and Next. When grading an essay, use the Comment button to access the editing tools for online grading. Once edited, you can also add comments to the student and put a grade in the grade box. Click Submit. The score will go to the Grade Center and to the student. The student will then see the grades under My Grades in the menu. If you see symbols in the Grade Center you're not sure of, go to the icon legend for an explanation. Thank you for accompanying me, Mangrove Mike, on this expedition through the Grade Center. Be sure to visit virtualcampus-irsc.weebly.com and click on Professional Development to find the Grade Center Survival Guide and interactive discussion board.
I'll see you at the river.